was probably the most accurate drawing I was able to come up with. And this came out from an O&W drawing that appeared in about the early 1900s in a prototype railroad magazine that had a theoretical race between an English 4 or 5 car train and an American 4 or 5 car coal train. There were excellent drawings of that locomotive that I pointed out to you in the beginning, the gondola cars, and this caboose. And this is the first place where I found that the wheel centers on the cabooses were 10 foot. And you can see where I circled it to let you see that, where that came from. And it's a pretty good drawing. Now, next. Basically what happened then is a four-wheel bobber survived through the years and was up on the Unadilla Valley, which was owned by Queens Circus or Queens Transit. I call it the Orange Bus Company in Queens, where I live. And the owners owned this Unadilla Valley line. Somehow or other, I understand that the bobber got down to somebody's backyard in Seacliff, Long Island, and was a playhouse for years. Finally, it was donated to the Ulster and Delaware Historical Society, or whatever their name is, up in Arkville. They then decided that they were going to rebuild this thing. And at this point, the body was taken off, put on blocks, and here's the underframe, and I was able to physically go up there and measure the 10-foot space from one wheel center to the next. Idea as to what the side of the caboose should look like and where the windows should be placed and what their sizes were. I needed some pictures of the end of the caboose as well, and this is a glass plate negative that showed up of a caboose on a trestle on the Scranton division. And the original picture is the caboose way up in the upper right-hand corner. And then I kind of blew the picture up a couple of times to try to, they're very blurry, but we were able to get some information off of them. As the cabooses, as time went on, they did apply safety appliances to the cabooses that you didn't see in the past. For example, they took away the metal plates which were on the ends, on the end rails. And I think those were really for flying cinders, rocks that would come up from the track. They're gone. You can see this caboose has air brakes. And if you look at the back of the caboose, you can see that they put steps on it. So again, handrails, a lot of safety appliances have been applied to this caboose, and it's taken at a later date from the earlier pictures. Again, this is a detailed shot showing you the air brake rigging, the handrails, and of course all the junk in the back wherever this was standing. Now that's the bobber that was up at the Unadilla Valley, and that's the last survivor. And again, you can see all the safety appliances. In fact, this bobber has roof walks, which I don't think some of the other bobbers had. This was taken, it was Unadilla Valley number 50, and that's probably was one of the most recent pictures of a real O&W caboose. I always get a kick out of this picture. It really gave me no information whatsoever, but apparently there were plenty of these things, and apparently some steam locomotive engineer, didn't stop in time. So this is just this is kind of a humorous picture that I threw in. Again, here we see a caboose that had the latest safety appliances and the steps applied so that you could just walk up and not use the stirrups. Here again, I start to see some of the other things that were added. There's a big center red light that's hooked on right by the door. Marker lamps are up in the back. This looks like it has a pretty fresh coat of paint. These guys are pretty proud of the piece of equipment they're standing in front of.
Joe, what's the purpose of the lines that run from the top of the cupola down to the wall?
I think those were braces, actually. There might have been braces or handrails to help the guy stabilize himself to get up to the handrails that you see on the roof. It's pure conjecture, but they do have them on the cabooses. I really couldn't give you any other explanation.
Braces.
Now, go back one more. If you take a look on this particular picture, you'll notice that the tapered cupola has windows all the way across the top. I think there were 5 altogether. Okay, now you can move on. The Walters model caboose only had 2 windows, and I did futz around and try to cut out the additional 3 windows, and it just became too laborious to do it. So one of the things that, and some of the 4-wheel cabooses that the O&W had those windows paneled in. So not all of the cabooses had a complete set of 5 windows. Many of them only had 2 windows with wood panels applied over the other window areas. And this is what I was trying to point out to you before. If you decide you want to try this, don't buy the New York Central caboose. Even though it looks the same in this picture, it's really not suitable. The Union Caboose picture, the Union Pacific caboose is the right one. That's just a shot of it in black and white to start to show you some of the similarities between the end windows, the side windows, and the cupola to the O&W cabooses. Again, just a blow-up shot of the end. That's the model. And one of the things that I had to change on this model was the door. If you remember, or when you see another picture of the O&W cabooses, the windows were 2 vertical panes, and the panel down below was also a double vertical panel. So the door I decided that I was going to take the doors out and correct that particular thing, because you do see those right at the end of each end of the car. Now this is where I cut the caboose apart. I marked it off, and the X'd areas are the areas that I didn't want, and I wanted the other pieces. There you can see the pieces 1, 2, 3, and 4, that are the ones that I wanted to make these 4-wheel cabooses. Here you see I've cut them apart. I've got the 2 end pieces there. The middle pieces are just leftovers on the block. You need to make a lot of jigs for this kind of stuff to get straight cuts. And I'm going to tell you that to do this kind of work, it's really worthwhile investing in 2 things. This is a Microlux table saw, and it lasts, I think it was somewhere about 150 bucks. It's shown there with a wood blade, but if you look down on the side where the tape is, that's the very fine-toothed plastic blade, and that's what I use to get really sharp vertical cuts to cut those plastic pieces apart. And here you can see the ends and the 2 pieces that I cut out of the bigger caboose to finally be put together. That's the other thing that you should have. For many, many years, I did modeling without a drill press or a table saw, and I can't tell you how important just these 2 tools are alone. And they come from a company called Microlux. And I think I took a picture of their catalog somewhere. Here are the pieces again, ready to be put together, and the floor sections that I made so that they would fit. Now, in order to get those pieces glued together really well and really accurately, I made another jig. And as a matter of fact, here it is right here. And that permitted me to put all the pieces together and glue them so they were nice and square. Here are the pieces of the cabooses on the jig being glued together, and you can see some of the underframe. In this particular case, these were going to be 2 of the later model cabooses, and you can see I put steps in on those. Again, the roof had to be cut apart, and there are a couple of the pieces that eventually became part of the short caboose. And those end pieces I left on, which were those are roof walk extension supports that are on the, that you see, that U-shaped piece on the right side of the roof. Here's the roof getting ready. There's a center piece getting ready to be glued. And now everything's kind of coming together. And that's the regular Walters cupola on top of the roof with the other pieces.